Ever wondered how a simple act of kindness can set the wheels in motion for something much bigger? Today I'm taking this donated 2015 Pendleton Somerby Ladies bike and giving it a new lease of life, not just for the road, but to help raise money for mental health charities. But, really, how much money is this wreck going to make? This bike was generously donated to me with the goal of it being restored and brought back into use, rather than being thrown in a dumpster, which was the fate facing it had I not offered to rescue it. Then, as part of my offer to save the bike, I suggested any money raised could go to charity, and the preference was a mental health charity. So every fix you see today is more than just a repair, but it's a step towards making a difference. I also could not cut corners on this bike, because if it was going to raise money for charity, then it needed to be a good bike. No cheap half measures, no bodging anything, it had to be done perfectly. Fortunately, with the bike having been donated, there was quite a bit of wiggle room to do the repairs and still have some money left to donate to charity. But first I need to strip it down to its bones to see what work actually needs doing. And that's it. Stripped down to its component parts, it's time to give everything a damn good clean. Several parts of this bike had surface rust on them. The way I dealt with this is if the parts were small enough, I put them in a bath of rust removal fluid and then cleaned them up in my ultrasonic cleaning bath. If the parts were too big, like this handlebar that had a lot of surface rust, I wrapped them in tissue paper and then soaked that paper with the rust removal fluid. A quick clean with a scouring pad and this chrome handlebar looked brand new. The wheel rims, which were aluminium, got a polish with a polishing head on a Dremel drill. It might not be perfect, but it is a really good way of bringing these old parts back to life. If you're interested in knowing what chemicals I use to do this, I'll pop a link in the description below, but they're very cheap and easy to buy on places like Amazon. Here I'm just using some engine and machine cleaner from Autoglim, which is a good way to degrease and get rid of all the gunk off the parts, in this case the frame. I go ahead and use the same process on all the other remaining parts, so that everything is clean and ready for reassembly. So let's get this bike back together. To begin with, I reinstall the bearing cups for the headset bearings. Normally I would use the correct tool for this, which I do have, but in this case the steering tube of the frame is too long for the tool that I have, so I'm resigned to using a plastic dead blow hammer to push the cups home and not risk damaging the metal. Not ideal in this instance, but the only option I have. Next, I syringe liberally some grease into the bearing cups before adding the new bearings, and then adding a bit more grease to the bearing to make sure everything is going to be well lubricated. The grease will hold the bearings in place, so I'm able to flip the frame over and do the same on the other side. I can then reinstall the front fork, and this is held in place with this finger-tightened ring, which is also the upper bearing race. The bike was fitted with a basket, and therefore the bracket that held the basket to this doubled as a spacer for the nut that locks the bearings in place, so I have to reinstall the bracket before threading on the nut. Then carefully tightening everything down. You don't want the bearing to be too loose, nor do you want it to be too tight, so it's done by feel and checking the movement in the fork before the final tighten. To tighten, hold the upper bearing race and then tighten down the nut with the spanner. If you need to, a pair of grips can be used to stop the upper bearing race from moving. Then, newly polished handlebar stem goes back in. This uses a wedge at the bottom, which when tightened by the Allen bolt on the top of the stem secures the stem firmly inside the tube of the front fork. Next, I move on to the bottom bracket. I start by applying some grease to the threads of the frame. This serves two purposes. One is to make sure that the bottom bracket threads in smoothly and doesn't get caught on any rough patches of the thread, which might lead to me thinking that the thread is tightened when it isn't. The second is it helps reduce water getting into the bottom bracket, acting like a seal between the bottom bracket cartridge and the frame. This bike has a chain protector, which is held in place by this silver bracket. I have given the bracket a coat of zinc paint to help protect it against rust in the future, and I soaked it in rust remover to make sure it was as clean as possible prior to painting. To make sure the bracket is lined up correctly, I have propped the cover in place, just for now, to stop the bracket from turning around and moving as I tighten the bottom bracket into place. This can be removed again once the bottom bracket is tightly in place, and I set the torque of the bottom bracket to about 50 Newton meters. Do tell me in the comments if you'd use any other torque setting, as I'd be interested to know. Next up, the seat clamp. This has had the same clean-up treatment. The clamp itself is alloy, so it doesn't rust, but the bolt was rusted, so that went in the rust removal bath along with many other bolts on this bike. This easily slips onto the top of the seat tube. Next, I get the seat and the seat post. The post was covered in surface rust, much like the handlebars, but again, a dip in rust remover has made it look like new. I apply this special paste to the seat post. This contains a fine grit to help the clamp hold the post without having to be over tightened. It also prevents the seat from getting stuck in the frame, so well worth doing. I have a small torque wrench for this, and the clamp had a figure of 6 Newton meters on it. I now move to the back brakes. There are parts here I want to move, and parts here I definitely do not want to move. So I apply a thin layer of grease to the brake boss. The V-brakes on this bike slide onto the bosses, and therefore the grease helps prevent wear between the parts, as well as minimising any ingress of water or dirt and helps them move. The bolt needs to not come out or undone during use, so I apply a little thread lock liquid to the threads. This is like a mild glue that stops the bolts from working loose, but is not so strong it stops you undoing the bolts when you want to. I install some Clark pads in the brakes. These have an alignment marker telling you which way round the pads go. They have multiple washers on them, but these actually serve a purpose of giving the pads some movement, some adjustability once in place. I will loosely fit them for now, as I cannot align the pads until the wheels are back in place. The brake arms are tightened to torque, again with a torque wrench, which is about 6 Newton meters. Turning the frame around, I can do the same with the front brakes. Next up, I install that newly cleaned and very shiny handlebar back in place, making sure to add some more of the assembly paste to the stem and to the handlebar to help prevent movement and also help prevent parts seizing together. There is one bolt that I tighten under the front, and this has been tightened to 8 Newton meters because there is only one bolt. If it was a multiple bolt stem, I would tighten them to around 5 to 6 Newton meters. I then add the rear derailleur to the frame. This is held on the frame with one bolt, which are tightened to 8 Newton meters. And I bolt back in place the crank arms, which in this case included a single chain ring. Another dab of thread lock to the bolts. These need to be tautened quite tightly again, this time to 50 Newton meters. And then the caps are tapped back into place just to cover up the bolts. I can, for the time being, loosely fit the brake levers and the gear shifter. I have ordered new handlebar grips, so the final position is decided with the grips in place. Taking a step back, it's really beginning to look good. I love the lustre of that deep red paint, and it's starting to look like a real bike again. Other parts I can add at this stage are the mud guards, which are an integral part of this bike. The front mud guard has one 10mm bolt that sits in the arch of the front fork, and then 2 M5 bolts that hold the legs of the mud guard to the front wheel dropout. The rear is very similar to the front, with a bolt on the bridge of the upper chain stay and then the 2 M5 bolts that secure these silver wire legs. The only addition is a single bolt that secures the lower part of the mudguard to the brace between the lower chain stays here. Now I really need the wheels back on. As explained above, I have cleaned up the wheel rims, given them a polish. I have also stripped down and re-greased the bearings, which I'll cover in a separate video. The white tyres on this bike looked awful. They were dirty and discoloured, had punctures, and the rubber of the tyre had gone hard in the sun, so it wasn't a hard choice to change them. I got these lovely white-walled Schwalbe tyres, which really look the part, and with black tread will not show dirt like the all-white tyres that this bike would have come with from new. Next up, the chain. This was barely worn. I think the bike was aged more from sitting around in bad weather than actual use. And the chain cleaned up nicely, was re-lubed, and was good to go back on the bike. I could have ordered a new chain, but it was in good shape, and replacing it would have been a waste of money, which was better off going to charity. Chains on these bikes are quite cheap, without a quick link, so a chain separator tool was used to link the chain back together after the chain is threaded through the derailleur and around the sprockets. Once the chain is in place, the chain guard can then go back on, which has 3 screws to secure it. With the wheels on, I can finally wiggle and finagle the brake pads into their final position. I'm fitting all new cables to this bike, and I need to install a new gear cable. I'm going to do the gear cable first, as I'm waiting on some replacement brake outer sleeve cables. This bike has only got one gear selector, a grip shift design, which I have never been a fan of, but they are very simple to use. This one has an indicator on the selector to tell you which gear you're in. I don't like them, but many people prefer them for their simplicity. There is a top cap that needs to come off to access the internal mechanism. This is very easy to slip a new cable in and thread out through the hole where it will join the cable outer. Once installed, the cap can be added back to the selector and secured with the 2 very small screws. A piece of outer cable is offered up to the frame. There is a place on the side of the frame that one end sits in, the other sits in the gear selector. The only thing with this bike is to try and keep things tidy. The cables route through the bracket that's used for the basket. Once I'm happy with the length, I cut it to size with a pair of cutters, specifically for cutting bike cables. They don't need to be expensive, mine were only a few pounds from AliExpress. These don't crush the cable outer or cause it to fray like a pair of wire cutters would. Once happy with the front portion of the gear cable, I tilt the bike up and deal with the rear section and its route to the rear derailleur. Under the bottom bracket is a piece of plastic that helps route the cable and prevents it getting stuck, that's attached with a single screw. The cable passes through this plastic piece and to the next section of cable outer at the rear of the bike. Once fully routed, the other end of the cable is secured to the derailleur, which at the moment will not work fully, and I will need to index the gears properly at the end. Getting close now, the pedals can go back on, and I can turn my attention to the handlebar grips. The originals have just completely disintegrated. They are no use to anyone, so I'm just going to pull them off and I'm going to put on some nice new ones. I got these very cheaply from, I think it was AliExpress, for about £5. They are a type that you clamp them on either end of the actual grip, so they won't move, but if you need to take the handlebars apart for anything, then you can easily remove them without damaging the grips. Once installed, they look fantastic. Very simple, cheap upgrade, and they even came with a little end cap to fill in the hole at the end of the handlebars. As you may gather, I haven't set up the brakes yet, but I have cut the cable outers to length, as you can see here, and I had been waiting on the cable inners to be delivered, which I'd ordered online. Now these have arrived, I can sort out the brakes and get them working. To kick off, pull the brake lever like this, and you can insert the sort of little bobble at the end of the cable into the brake lever itself, feed it through the gap in the front of the brake lever. Make sure you line up the slits that is in the adjustment screw and locking screw. Feed the cable through the cable outer. At the other end of the cable on V-brakes you have this little 90-degree bend piece that you have to thread onto the cable as well. You thread the little rubber boot over the cable. This is supposed to stop dirt getting into the cable outer. On this particular type of V-brake, you thread the cable through a hole that has been drilled in the bolt that secures the cable. And then very simply on the other end it just hooks into place like this. Initially I do the bolt up finger tight just so it holds the brakes where I want them, and then I can adjust them, and once I'm happy I snug the bolt down with a spanner to make it tight. Cut the cable off at the length you want, and then the final thing to do is crimp a little ferrule on the end of the cable like this, just to keep everything nice and neat. And finally tuck the cable out of the way so it doesn't interfere with anything. That's the front brake done, all works nicely. Now I turn my attention to the rear and do exactly the same on the rear of the bike. Same process, just feed the cable through the cable outer, get it in the position you want it, tighten the bolt down, and you have yourself a set of working brakes. And now the very, very, very final job to do is to make sure we've got a nice new bell. This is easy, 2 screws, just tighten it down on the handlebars, and that is job done. This bike is now finished. Let's go take a look at it. So let's break it all down on what this bike cost me. I didn't pay anything for the bike, so that was free. The tyres and tubes were the most expensive part. That was a package deal from eBay and it came to £38, which would be about $52 US. Brake pads or blocks, they were about £9 and about $12.50 US. The grips were £5, about $7 US. The bell was £2, about $3. The cable outer sleeving comes on a roll, and I worked out I used about £3 worth, about $4 in total. And the cable inners, the actual cables themselves, I used 3, they're about £2 each, so £6 in total, about $8 for all of them. So that brings our grand total to about £63 all in, or about $86.50 for the total restoration of this bike. I've not counted things like rags, cloths or other sort of cleaning materials because they're very, very difficult to price up. You know, a drop of oil here, a little bit of grease there. So all in, we'll call it £63 total, $86.50. I advertised the bike on Facebook Marketplace. I gave it a really good description. I also added a video and narrated the video showing the condition the bike was in. And I advertised it at £110, which is about $150 US. I think I priced it. I think I could have asked a lot more for it because I was inundated with people messaging me about it who wanted to come immediately to buy it. But all in, £110, it sold straight away. I didn't need to mess about and I didn't haggle on the price either. So the total profit for this bike was about £47 or $63.50. And if you remember from the beginning of the video, that money's going to be going to charity, so that's going to go to a mental health charity here in the UK. I think the lesson I learnt from this is to have a little bit more faith in my abilities and the bike itself and how well it'll sell if you put a good description on Facebook Marketplace, as I could have easily gotten a lot more for this. But hey, this is the first bike that I'm doing in this series, so this is a good start. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you've enjoyed this. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.